Black conservative voices are gaining serious traction in America, especially among Black men. No small feat considering the historical backdrop. Back in the 1800s, 150 Black men actually jump-started the Texas Republican Party. That legacy matters. It's intellectual heavyweights like Thomas Sowell, Larry Elder, and Booker T. Washington who have fortified my spine, giving me the courage to stand my ground every single day. For the past 6 decades, the Democratic Party has held an effective monopoly on the Black vote, but the returns are meager at best. Our neighborhoods, our schools, our families are struggling, and it's high time we demand more. I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and be the change I want to see in the world. No lip service, just action. As for Stephen A. Smith, the man's on point in this segment. Sure, I might not share his public support for Kamala, but I've got to respect his right to make that call. After all, the cornerstone of true progress is being able to disagree without dismantling the entire conversation. Welcome back to the channel. It's your man Wise. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. Turn those notifications on so you never miss an upload. Let's go.
Let me get back to the issue, however, of Black conservatives. And I've touched on this subject on many, many occasions, and I'm going to touch on it now, but never before have I touched on this subject the way that I'm going to right now. There's a lot of times it could be a Candace Owens. It could be a Larry Elder. To a lesser degree, it could be a Byron Donald. I remember Armstrong Williams. He's been out there for many, many years. I've known him for many, many years. Even to a lesser degree, somebody like Sage Steele, who used to work at ESPN and now, helped the Trump campaign. And who knows, for all we know, I don't think she's interested in it, but who knows? She might end up being press secretary one day. I don't know. Whatever it is, I hope she does well. I wish her well. Sage and I got along. Let me say this. Over the years, we've seen a level of vitriol emanating from Black conservatives to a point where people who are not conservative vilified them because of it. I was never down with that. I'm a registered independent who primarily votes Democrat. There have been several occasions I've been tempted to vote Republican, to vote conservative. Hell, some of the times I regretted I didn't. And who knows what the future holds with me with some of the nonsense that I saw from the left, particularly leading up to this election with woke and cancel culture and all of that stuff. But that's a different story for another day. Here's the point that I want to make. While finding myself wishing that the inordinate amount of Black conservatives that have been out there and are still out there will sort of dial back their vitriolic responses to the venom that's been thrown in their direction, I've rarely blamed them. Because you got people in here looking at folks from the conservative side who happen to be Black, calling them sellouts and coons and all of these kind of negative connotations, showing them no respect as human beings just because you don't agree and side with their ideology. Who the hell are you? Listen, most of my friends are liberal. Some of them are conservatives. I have no problem with any of them. All I want to hear is what your point of view is and why. And if you make sense and it's fact-based and it's not dominated by emotion trying to usurp the facts, I'm good with you. Even if I don't agree with you, because I know your position is based on fact. And for folks outside of the conservative community to look at people who are Black and excoriate them just because they're conservative, who the hell are you? Where are your facts? There's a lot of history that goes into stuff. You can see it one way or another, but it's undeniable that bipartisanship played the role. Civil rights legislation, voting rights legislation, affirmative action, and things of that nature. Conservatives did play a role in some good things that happened in our society.
Let's keep it real. And shout out to Stephen A. for saying this for real on his channel, because he doesn't have to, It may not bode well with, his bosses over at ESPN. It may not bode well with some of his folks, over there, some of his liberal friends. Let's just keep it real. He's taking a step out there. But at the same time, I'll say this. Conservatives have played a major role in furthering the progress of the Black community in this nation. Abraham Lincoln obviously signs the Emancipation Proclamation. Like I said earlier in the video, the Texas Republican Party started by 150 Black men. The first Black men that were elected to office ran as Republicans. You didn't get the first Black liberal until either the 20s or 30s, if I'm not mistaken. 30, 40 years after there were already folks that had held these positions. Republican Party, they've voted for every civil rights movement, act in this country at an 80% clip or higher. It wouldn't happen without them. Democrats filibustered a lot of these bills for days on end. These are facts. Look it up. Everybody talks about Martin Luther King, but word on the street is Martin Luther King was a Republican. Now, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole with him, but I could. List goes on and on and on. And the reality of it is this. Why is it that for so long, this is the only group of people that have voted for any party, whether it's the Republican or the Democrat Party, at 90+% clips? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Now, again, the word says our people perish for lack of knowledge. And that's been a lot of our issue in this country. It's a lack of knowledge. People are ignorant to who the parties are and the foundation and what the parties have done for not only the country, but we're just talking Black people right now, for Black people in this country. A lot of people are ignorant. They don't know that the Democrat Party is the party of the KKK, the party of slavery, the party of redlining. They don't know that. They don't know that a lot of folks on the Democrat side filibustered a lot of these civil rights acts that ultimately did get signed into law. They don't know. And the Democrat Party is really good with using language. They're really good at it. And they're also good at plucking tokens, which is something that they've been doing. You could go back to, a slavery time frame where they would find certain slaves, make them a pastor, and then use that pastor to continue to oppress the people. These are the things that the Democrat Party has done, and they're still doing it today. Let's just keep it real. But let's keep going.
The left and Democrats have been hypocritical in certain respects. So if we're going to call balls and strikes, call balls and strikes. But we didn't do that. And we never do that when it comes to Black conservatives. And don't use this as an opportunity to say, Stephen A., he's a conservative. Well, damn it, I'm not yet, but I might be one day because I don't like the shit I've been seeing. But my voting record says otherwise. This is not about that. This is about us being grown-ups and being respectful of other people's positions and feelings and taking a moment to inhale and digest what the hell they're saying and deciphering what's true and what isn't true before we take a position. It's important that we do that. But we haven't been doing that. And then we wonder why Black people in this country are the one disenfranchised community that exists in this country. You know why? Because we don't demand that you flatter us. Let me explain my position even further. If you go to buy a house, do you buy it without looking at it, walking through it, probing and investigating before you decide to make that investment? Do you do something like that with a car as well? Don't you do it with clothes? Don't you do it with any purchase that you get? But when it comes to politics, no such thing. So in other words, the vast majority of Black Americans in this country, particularly since 1964, have basically said, the right, you know what? You ain't worth a damn. We don't like you. We don't trust you. So guess what? We ain't giving you our vote. We can't come together for shit under most circumstances. But suddenly with politics, 85, 90%, etc. Oh, we gonna roll with the left. So what you've done is you've disenfranchised yourself. Why? Because the left know they have your vote and you're not going anywhere, and boom, you don't have to cater to African American needs. And on the right, you're like, we ain't getting their vote anyway, so let's pay attention to the constituent that's gonna put us in office. Either way you slice it, this one gives you little representation because they're taking you for granted. This one gives you little representation and no representation because they know they don't have your support anyway. And why are the other communities successful? Because I don't give a damn whether it's Cuban, it's Dominican, it's Venezuelan, it's Guatemalan, it's Puerto Rican, it's Mexican. I don't care what it is. You're Asian. You're the Jewish community. An abundance of white folks in the United States of America. Somehow, some way, everybody successfully goes about the business of making sure they tell you, show us you're worthy of our vote before we give it to you. And as a result, you have to cater to them. We don't do that. We don't do that. And that's where we made a mistake. And even though black conservatives may not do that to the degree that we like, in the end, what they're doing is they're bucking the system. They're saying we're not going to just buy what you're selling. The other side might have more of what we want. And some of them did that in this election with Trump. And now the Democrats have to go back to the drawing board and figure out, how can you appeal to more African Americans and more folks in the Hispanic community and beyond to regain the luster that you thought you had, but you evidently lost? In other words, ladies and gentlemen, even when things look bad, there's light at the end of the rainbow. You know what that light is? Believe it or not, Donald Trump winning the election because it forced everybody to stand up and pay attention and recognize that you no longer get to engage in hate mongering and fear mongering to win an election. You actually got to go out there and win it. Black conservatives have something to do with that. So they ain't gonna get hatred from me. And they shouldn't from you or anybody in the African American community. Enough with the childishness. Let's grow up and use our mind and our brains far, far more than our emotions.
Sheesh. Shout out to Stephen A. for doing this, man. For real. Shout out to Stephen A. Smith for this right here, man. I could not have said it better, to be honest with you. And I'm saying this right here. I appreciate him saying this. I really do. On his platforms, continuing to grow. Again, I don't agree with everything from Stephen A. I don't. And honestly, I was a big fan of Stephen A. before he kind of got political, and I kind of found out some of those things, and it was just like, and then I kind of fell off of ESPN because it just, what, I'm not even going to go there. But I do appreciate him in this sentiment, and he is absolutely right. He is absolutely right. When you look at black male population, 20% supported Donald Trump. We got another 7% of black women that supported Donald Trump. And when you look at the numbers under 50, those numbers are even better. So you look at, we're 27, almost 30%. A lot of us kind of thought that would be the case. And now it's about figuring out how you can benefit from this upcoming administration. Because there's going to be some opportunities. The last time Trump was in office, he created the opportunity zones. Money was cheap. A lot of businesses were started. So this time around, instead of listening to these people who are fear-mongering, and a lot of those folks that are doing that with this race hustle, they're doing it because they get a check to do so. They were hoping that there were, if Kamala would have won, there were some seat, on her, in a cabinet or, somewhere in her administration where they could go and get a check. That's what that really was about. I don't think a lot of those folks believed in her. This was an opportunity for them. This was a grift for them. And to be honest with you, a lot of these folks, especially I'm going to say a lot of these black folks that are, in these positions on these, mainstream networks, the people that Angela Rise and all these other types of folks, they've lost their power. They've lost their influence. And a lot of that has to do with people like myself, people like Brandon Tatum, more of those guys, Brandon Tatum and, Candace Owens and so many others out there that, that shoulders that I stand on myself here on this platform. And I'm very, very appreciative of them pushing this, because more and more people need to hear this message right here and need to hear the message that Stephen A. so eloquently presented. I mean, it was phenomenal. There are a lot of things that need to change in this country, but it starts with us. It starts with us. And giving one party 90% of your vote, it's asinine. He said it. One party knows that you're going to vote for them. They know it, so they don't do anything for you. The other party, there's no incentive for them to do anything for you because they know you're never going to support them. But tides are changing, and I'm 100% here for it. And I'll be here to continue to push this message, because more and more people need to see this and open their mind and become critical thinkers and do their own research. Because the reality of it is, myself and so many others out there, once you start to do the research, it's hard to unsee what you find out. And it would be very, very difficult for you to continue to support the Democratic Party once you really know who they are and what their agenda is. It's very, very difficult. I appreciate you guys rocking with me, man. Like, share, subscribe to the channel, turn the notifications on so you never miss an upload. Keep God first in your life, stay prayed up, and we will catch up with you all next time. Peace.